They told her wolves don't belong in stone halls. They told him a vampire king should never warm to living blood. But when the borders began to rot, when ancient treaties failed and something hungry started pushing at the edges of the world, a wolf crossed into vampire ground, and a king chose not to send her away. What began as caution turned into proximity. What should have been strategy became instinct. And in the quiet between moonrise and midnight, they built something dangerous enough to change both their worlds. This is a story of power held under control, of trust earned in silence, of a bond the world tried to reject, until it learned to make space for them. The council chamber smells like wet stone and centuries. I stand at the edge of the room where moonlight doesn't reach, my boots silent on flagstone that's been polished smooth by time and footsteps. The air here is cool, not cold, but the kind of temperature that makes you aware of your own warmth, your own breath. I can hear the distant echo of water somewhere in the mountain's bones. Can smell iron and age and something green that might be moss growing in cracks no one tends anymore. My pack doesn't know I'm here. That fact sits in my chest like a stone, heavy and undeniable. But the messages have been clear. The attacks on our borders aren't random. The things coming out of the Wraithwood aren't natural, even by our standards. And the old alliances, the ones written in blood and silver and spoken promises, those are dust now. So I came. I'm still in my travel clothes, dark leather that doesn't catch light, wool that doesn't hold scent. My hair is braided back tight. I left my pack markers at the border. Everything that would name me I set aside. Except I can't set aside what I am. The door opens without sound. He enters like a change in air pressure. Not dramatic, but absolute. I feel it in my spine, the way you feel a storm before the first drop of rain. The vampire king doesn't announce himself, doesn't need to. Lyrian Thane. I've heard his name since I was young enough to believe in monsters. Now I'm old enough to know we're all someone's monster. And he's crossing the chamber toward me with footsteps that barely register on stone. He's tall. That's the first concrete thing I notice. Tall and lean in the way predators are, nothing wasted. His coat is deep charcoal, well made, moves with him like it's part of his body. His hair is dark, pulled back from a face that's beautiful. Dangerously so. The kind of face that makes you forget things. But it's his eyes that stop me. Silver gray, like winter dawn, and fixed on me with an attention that feels like touch. Marin Ashwood, he says. His voice is quiet, controlled. It doesn't echo in this space, just settles into it, warm and low. I straighten my spine, meet his gaze. You know who I am. Your reputation precedes you. The corner of his mouth shifts. Not quite a smile. The wolf who thinks like a strategist. The vampire who negotiates instead of conquers, I reply. Something flickers in his expression. Approval, maybe. Or recognition. He gestures to a table near the far wall. Simple dark wood, 2 chairs, a carafe of something that steams faintly in the cool air. Sit. We have much to discuss, and I suspect neither of us wishes to do so standing. I cross the room. The table is positioned where moonlight falls through a narrow window, clean, white light that doesn't warm, but illuminates everything it touches. I can see the grain in the wood, the slow curl of steam. I sit. He sits across from me, precise and economical in his movements. Pours dark liquid into 2 cups. Tea from the scent. Something herbal and faintly bitter. You came alone, he observes. So did you. I don't need an escort in my own halls. I don't need one anywhere. His eyes meet mine. and this time there's definitely amusement there. Subtle, but present. "No," he says softly. "I suspect you don't." He slides one cup across the table. The ceramic is warm under my fingers. "The attacks," I say, because someone has to begin. "On both our territories, the same patterns." "Yes." He wraps both hands around his cup, and I notice his fingers. Long, elegant, steady. Coordinated, intelligent, and using methods that suggest knowledge of both our defenses. Someone's testing us. Or trying to ignite old conflicts. He sips his tea, gaze never leaving mine. "There are those who would benefit from our species returning to open war." The weight of that settles between us. I breathe in steam and stone scent, and the strange, clean smell that seems to be him, like night air and something I can't name. My pack won't approve an alliance. My court will view it as dangerous indulgence. Then we don't tell them. Silence. It's not uncomfortable. It's the kind of silence that happens when both people are thinking the same thing and waiting to see who'll say it aloud first. Lyrian leans back slightly, fingers still curved around ceramic. "You're proposing we work together without sanction. Share intelligence. Coordinate responses. Build trust between our people quietly, through action rather than treaty. Yes. That's remarkably dangerous. So is dying because we're too proud to cooperate." Another flicker of expression, this one harder to read. He sets down his cup with careful precision. "If we do this, there will be consequences. Not immediately. But systems don't like disruption. Our kinds have been separate for long enough that cooperation will resist." "What kind of resistance?" "Subtle things. Rituals that won't settle properly. Instincts that pull wrong. The world isn't designed for wolves and vampires to work side by side, Marin. It will notice." I hold his gaze. "I'm not afraid of being noticed." "No," he says quietly. "I don't think you are." The moon shifts behind clouds. The light in the room changes. Dimmer now, softer. I can hear my own heartbeat in the new quiet. 3 weeks pass in careful exchanges. I send word through dead drops and coded messages. He responds with information that saves lives, mine and his. We meet twice more in the neutral border zone, in a clearing where pine trees grow so thick the moonlight has to fight to reach the ground. Each time, we talk strategy, positions, patrol patterns. The attacks are evolving, becoming bolder, and we're building a response framework that exists in the space between our peoples. Each time, I notice new things. The way he listens, complete attention, no performance. The precision of his memory. How he stands upwind so my instincts stay calm. Small courtesies that cost him nothing but mean everything. The 4th week, everything changes. I'm tracking a threat signature near the mountain border when the trail goes wrong. The scent I'm following splits, doubles back, becomes 3 separate tracks that shouldn't exist. By the time I realize it's a trap, I'm surrounded by things that smell like decay and old blood and something chemical that burns my nose. I fight. I'm good at fighting. Fast and trained, and I don't hesitate. But there are too many, and they're coordinated, and one of them catches me across the ribs with something that burns like silver but isn't. Then they're scattering. Lyrian appears at the edge of the clearing like he stepped out of shadow itself. He doesn't announce himself, doesn't waste time on words. He just moves, liquid and precise and absolutely lethal. The creatures that were overwhelming me moments ago are suddenly retreating, and he's between me and them like a wall made of night and controlled violence. The fight ends quickly. I'm on one knee, breathing hard. One hand pressed to my ribs where fabric is torn and something wet is soaking through. The pain is sharp, focused, real. Lyrian is beside me instantly. How bad? His voice is calm, but his hands are already moving, carefully pulling my hand away to assess the damage. I've had worse. That's not an answer. It's not silver, just burns like hell. His fingers are cool against my overheated skin, gentle in a way that seems impossible for someone who just killed 4 things in under a minute. You need treatment, my halls are closest. I can make it back. Marin. He meets my eyes, and there's something in his expression I haven't seen before. Concern, maybe, or the beginning of it. Let me help, please. That last word undoes me. I nod. He helps me stand, one arm around my waist, supporting my weight without making me feel weak. We move through the forest together, my boots finding ground that doesn't shift, his presence steady against my side. The halls of the vampire court are different when you enter as guest instead of supplicant. Lyrian brings me through a private entrance, narrow stone steps that wind upward into the mountain itself. The air grows warmer as we climb. I can smell mineral water and something green, living. Moss, maybe, or underground gardens. We emerge into a room I wasn't expecting. It's not a throne room or council chamber. It's personal. A study, maybe, or private quarters. Stone walls, but softened with tapestries in deep colors. Midnight blue, forest green, charcoal gray. A fireplace where flames burn low and steady. Shelves lined with books, their spines worn from reading. A desk covered in maps and correspondence. Windows that look out over mountain valleys where mist is just beginning to gather. Sit, Lyrian says, guiding me toward a chair near the fire. The heat feels good. I sink into leather that's been worn soft by use and watch as he moves to a cabinet, retrieving supplies with practiced efficiency. He kneels in front of me. That surprises me more than anything else tonight. May I? He asks, hands poised near the torn fabric of my shirt. I nod. He works carefully, peeling back cloth to expose the wound. His touch is clinical, professional, but there's a gentleness to it that makes my breath catch. I watch his face as he works. The concentration there, the small furrow between his brows. It's not deep, he says after a moment, but it's contaminated with something. I'll need to clean it thoroughly. I trust you. His eyes flick to mine, hold for a beat. Then he reaches for a bottle, uncorks it, and the smell of herbs fills the space between us. This will sting, he warns. It does. But I've felt worse, and I'm more focused on the way his hands move, sure and steady and careful not to cause more pain than necessary. He cleans the wound, applies something that cools the burn, then bandages it with strips of clean linen. When he's done, he sits back on his heels, looking up at me. You should rest. I have guest quarters. I should go back. It's nearly dawn. You'd be traveling in full light. He's right. I hate that he's right. But he is. One of the eastern rooms, he continues. It has mountain views, privacy. No one will disturb you. I should refuse, should insist on leaving despite the sun, despite the pain in my ribs, despite everything that says this is too much trust, too soon. But I'm tired, and he's offering refuge. Okay, I say quietly. Relief crosses his face, subtle, but there. He stands, offers his hand. I take it, let him pull me to my feet. We're close now. Close enough that I can see silver flecks in his gray eyes, can feel the coolness of him contrasting with the fire warmth at my back. Thank you, I say. For tonight. For all of it. You don't need to thank me for helping, he says. Not anymore. He leads me through quiet corridors to a room that's exactly as promised. Simple and clean, with a bed that looks softer than anything I've slept on in months. The window shows mountains going blue with approaching dawn. Rest, Lyrian says from the doorway. I'll be in the study if you need anything. Then he's gone, the door closing with a soft click. I sink onto the bed, my ribs aching, my mind full of the careful way he cleaned my wound and the warmth in his voice when he said not anymore. I fall asleep to the sound of distant water and the knowledge that something is shifting between us, something that feels inevitable as gravity. I wake to afternoon light and the smell of food. My ribs are sore but manageable. Someone has left clean clothes folded on a chair, simple, well-made, in dark colors that will suit me. There's a bowl of water for washing, still warm. I take my time, test my movement. The wound is healing cleanly, whatever he used on it working better than anything my pack healers have. I dress in the borrowed clothes, they fit well enough, and follow the scent of food through corridors that feel less foreign now. I find Lyrian in a small dining room I didn't see last night. It's intimate. A round table, 2 chairs, windows that look out over a courtyard, where evening primrose is just beginning to open. He's reading something, a book open beside his plate, but he looks up when I enter. You're awake. He sets the book aside, gestures to the seat across from him. How do you feel? Better. Whatever you used worked. Old recipe, effective on most supernatural wounds. He pours dark liquid from a pot, coffee, from the scent, rich and strong. Are you hungry? I am. Ravenous, actually. He's already prepared food, bread and cheese and fruit, simple things that don't require elaborate preparation, but taste better than they should. We eat in comfortable quiet, the kind that exists between people who don't need to fill every silence. The things that attacked you, Lyrian says eventually. They're new, modified somehow. I've been researching. He gestures to the book. But the references are obscure. I lean forward, interested. What have you found? We spend the next hour discussing theory and evidence, our plates forgotten as we trade information. He shows me sketches and notes, his handwriting precise and controlled. I contribute observations from the field, patterns I've noticed, but haven't had context for. The light changes around us, dimming from afternoon to early evening. Someone lights lamps without us noticing. Servants who move like ghosts, respectful of the work we're doing. You should stay another night, Lyrian says when we finally pause. It's not safe for you to travel alone right now, and your ribs need more healing time. My pack will wonder. Tell them you were tracking a lead. It's not untrue. He's right again. And the thought of staying, of spending more time in this quiet space, with him, isn't as alarming as it should be. Okay, I agree. Something eases in his expression. Good. I'll show you the library if you'd like. We have texts on pack history that might interest you. The library is 3 floors of stone and shadow and more books than I've ever seen in one place. Lyrian moves through it like he knows every volume personally, pulling texts with casual familiarity. He shows me histories written by wolf scholars, treaties in languages that predate modern common tongue, illustrated manuscripts that smell like time itself. We end up on the floor in front of a low shelf, books spread around us, arguing amiably about the historical accuracy of a particular treaty interpretation. It's clearly metaphorical, I insist. It's clearly literal. Look at the verb tense. The verb tense is irrelevant if the context demands. We're laughing. When did we start laughing? Lyrian's eyes are bright with amusement, his usual control softened by genuine pleasure in the debate. There's ink on his fingers from taking notes, and his hair has come slightly loose from its tie. He looks younger like this, less burdened. "We should eat," he says eventually, glancing toward windows where full dark has fallen, "before the kitchen staff gives up on us entirely." We gather the books, careful with their spines and pages, and make our way to what he calls the small dining room, though it's larger than my family home was. Dinner is laid out, still warm, and we eat while continuing our debate. Somewhere in the middle of the meal, our argument fades into quieter conversation. He asks about my training. I tell him about learning to track, to fight, to lead. He shares pieces of his own history, carefully chosen, but genuine. The years learning to govern, the weight of inherited responsibility. "Do you ever wish you could set it down?" I ask. "Just be yourself, without the crown?" He's quiet for a long moment, fingers tracing the rim of his wine glass. "Every day," he says finally. But then I remember why I carry it. The people who depend on stability. The peace we've built. Even if it's lonely. His eyes meet mine. Yes. Even then. I understand that. Understand it in my bones. "It doesn't have to be," I say quietly. "Doesn't it?" But there's something tentative in his voice, like he wants to believe me. "We're here now. Neither of us alone." He goes very still, then so quietly I almost miss it. "No, not alone." The moment stretches, warm and fragile. Then he clears his throat gently, reaching for safer ground. "I'll show you to a different room tonight. The western quarters. There's a balcony with a view of the valley. You might enjoy it." "I'd like that." The room he brings me to is beautiful. Stone walls softened by tapestries in deep blues and greens. A bed with linen that smells like lavender and clean air. And yes, a balcony, wide enough for 2 chairs and a small table, overlooking mountain valleys where mist is gathering like breath. "It's perfect," I say. Lyrian stands in the doorway, not quite entering. "Sleep well, Marin." "You too, Lyrian." His name feels natural in my mouth now, like I've been saying it for years. He hesitates, like he wants to say something else. Then just nods and leaves. I step onto the balcony, breathing night air and stone scent and the distant smell of pine. Below, the valley is silver with moonlight. Above, stars are beginning to emerge. I think about the way Lyrian laughed in the library, the ink on his fingers, the careful way he says my name. Something is building between us, something that feels like the opposite of loneliness. The next 3 weeks blur into pattern. I stay longer each visit. He finds reasons for me to remain, research we need to complete, intelligence that requires analysis, wounds that need tending. I find reasons to agree. We work side by side in his study, maps spread between us, building strategies that will save both our peoples. We argue about tactics and laugh about historical footnotes and share meals that stretch longer each time. I learn things about him that no treaty would ever record. He reads late into the night, fingers trailing along text with unconscious affection. He's kind to servants without thinking about it, remembering their names and families. When he's thinking hard, he taps 2 fingers against his jaw in a rhythm I've learned to recognize. He learns me too, I think. How I pace when I'm working through problems. How I take my coffee dark and bitter. How I prefer direct truth to careful diplomacy, even when it stings. We're building something. Trust, yes. but also familiarity. The kind of knowledge that comes from proximity and time. And then the dreams start. I wake one night in the room that's become mine, the western quarters with the balcony view, from a dream that leaves my skin hot and my heart racing. Not nightmare. Something else entirely. Lyrian's hands, careful on my skin. His voice, low and close. The weight of him, the coolness and warmth combined. I press palms to my face, breathing hard. This is dangerous. This wanting. I get up, pull on a robe, step onto the balcony. The night air is cool, but it doesn't touch the heat under my skin. Can't sleep? I startle, then relax. Lyrian is on the adjacent balcony. His rooms are next to mine, I realize. He's in shirt sleeves, no coat, looking out over the valley like he's been there a while. Restless, I say. I know the feeling. We stand in parallel silence, 2 balconies apart, both awake when we should be sleeping. Lyrian, I say carefully, have you noticed anything strange since we started working together? He's quiet long enough that I think he won't answer. Then, define strange. Dreams, instincts that pull wrong, like something's trying to, I don't know, resist. Yes. His voice is tight. I've noticed. Relief and concern war in my chest. You said cooperation would resist, that systems would notice. I did. Is it getting worse? Another pause. Then he turns to face me, and even in shadow I can see the tension in him. Yes, my court feels it too, though they don't know the source. Rituals feel off-center. Old magic doesn't settle right. And the dreams. He stops. Tell me, I say softly. His hands grip the balcony rail. They're not nightmares. That's what makes them difficult. They're, you. Constantly you. My breath catches. I know it's the world pushing back, he continues, voice rough. I know it's systems trying to reinforce separation. But knowing doesn't make it easier, doesn't make waking up feel less like loss. I cross the distance between balconies without thinking. There's a low wall, easy to climb over. Then I'm on his balcony, close enough to see his expression clearly. It's not just the world, I say. Is it? He looks at me, and his eyes are storm dark, careful control cracking at the edges. No, it's not just the world. Lyrian, I'm trying to be honorable here, Marin. His voice is barely above a whisper. I'm trying to keep this professional, strategic. But you're in my study every day, arguing with me about treaty interpretation and making me laugh. And you're sleeping 20 feet from my door and He stops, breathes, forces control back into place. I don't want to take advantage of proximity, he finishes carefully. Or circumstances, or the way systems push us together while trying to pull us apart. You deserve better than that. My heart is thunder loud in my chest. What if I want this? I ask. What if it's not just resistance or systems or proximity? What if I'm choosing it? His control breaks. Not dramatically, not with violence or passion. It breaks quietly, like a door opening after being locked too long. Are you? He asks. Choosing this? Yes. He reaches out slowly, giving me time to move away. His fingers brush my jaw, cool and careful and trembling slightly. I need you to be sure, he says quietly. Because once we cross this line, I won't be able to pretend we haven't. won't be able to keep you at strategic distance. I lean into his touch. I'm sure. He makes a sound low in his throat, relief and want and something like surrender. Then his other hand comes up to frame my face, and he's kissing me like he's been holding back for weeks. Maybe he has. He tastes like night and wine and something uniquely him. His mouth is cool, but the kiss is anything but cold. It's deliberate and deep and exactly as controlled as he is, which means perfectly calibrated to take me apart. I make a soft sound against his lips, and his hands tighten on my face. My fingers find his shirt, fisting in fabric, pulling him closer. The kiss deepens, angles, becomes something inevitable and right, and he pulls back, breathing hard, forehead against mine. Inside, he says roughly. Before I forget, we're on a balcony where anyone could see. We stumble into his rooms, larger than mine, but the same stone warmth, the same tapestries and careful comfort. The door closes and we're kissing again, my back against wood, his body a line of cool pressure against mine. His hands are in my hair, careful with the tangles. My hands are under his shirt, finding skin that's smooth and cool, and suddenly the most important thing I've ever touched. Marin. My name is a prayer in his mouth. Tell me what you want. You. This. All of it. He groans, kisses me harder, then gentles, slows, turns it into something deliberate again. Not like this, he says against my lips. Not rushed. You deserve better. I don't need better. I do. He pulls back enough to meet my eyes, and his are molten silver, pupils blown wide. Let me do this right. Let me take my time. Oh. He leads me to his bed, larger than mine, covered in dark linen that smells like him. The room is lit by firelight and moonlight, warm and cool combined. Lie down, he says softly. I do. He follows, propping himself above me, careful not to crush. For a long moment, he just looks at me. And I let him. Let him see whatever he needs to see. You're beautiful, he says finally. I've thought that since the first night. But now I can say it. You're not so bad yourself. He laughs, the sound warm and genuine. Then he's kissing me again, slower this time, thorough, like he's memorizing every inch of me. Like he has all the time in the world and wants to spend it learning me. His hands are careful on my skin, asking permission with every touch. I grant it wordlessly, arching into contact, wanting more. Tell me, he murmurs against my throat. Tell me what feels good. I do. And he listens, adjusting pressure and speed and angle until I'm gasping, hands fisted in his hair, pulling him closer even though he's already as close as physics allows. We learn each other slowly. What makes breath catch? What draws sounds? What turns touch into ache, and ache into need, and need into something that feels like finding home? When we finally come together, it's not perfect. There's fumbling and adjustment, and a moment where we both laugh at the logistics. But it's real. And it's us. And it feels like everything clicking into place. After, we lie tangled together, my head on his chest, his fingers tracing patterns on my spine. Are you all right? He asks quietly. Better than all right. I feel him smile against my hair. Good. We're quiet for a while, just breathing together. The resistance will get worse, he says eventually. The world really doesn't want this. I don't care what the world wants. Neither do I. He presses a kiss to my temple. but we'll need to be careful. Protect what we're building. Together, I say. Together, he agrees. I fall asleep listening to the non-existent beat of his heart, feeling safer than I have in years. The resistance doesn't manifest as violence. It's subtler than that. More insidious. Rituals that used to ground me feel off balance now. When I run with my pack, the moon feels distant instead of close. When I shift, it takes longer, like my body is confused about what form it should hold. My pack notices. You're distracted, my second says after a failed hunt. Where's your head? With a vampire in stone halls, I don't say. In a bed that smells like night and careful hands. Working on the threat, I reply. Which is true technically, but they're not satisfied, and I don't blame them. I spend more time away now. More nights in Western quarters that feel more like home than my own den. More mornings waking tangled with Lyrian, his cool skin against mine. Moonlight and firelight mixing in patterns on the walls. We're careful, discreet. We meet in private, share information through coded messages, maintain the appearance of distant alliance. But in private, we're building something that feels inevitable. He reads to me, poetry and history and passages he thinks I'll find interesting. I tell him stories about my childhood, about learning to hunt, about the weight of pack responsibility. We argue about strategy and laugh about stupid things and make love like we're trying to prove the world wrong about what's possible. I want to show you something, he says one evening after we've finished dinner in his study. He leads me deeper into the mountain, down corridors I haven't walked before. The air grows warmer, more humid. I can hear water running, echoing through stone. We emerge into a cavern that takes my breath away. It's a hot spring, deep underground, lit by crystals that grow naturally from the walls. The water is clear and steaming, surrounded by smooth stone and careful plantings, ferns and moss, and night-blooming flowers that fill the air with scent. It's beautiful, I breathe. It's private, Lyrian says quietly. No one comes here but me. I thought you might enjoy it. He's giving me access to his private spaces, sharing sanctuaries. I turn to him, take his hand. Thank you. We undress slowly, no urgency, just the comfort of familiar bodies. The water is perfect, hot enough to ease tension, cool enough not to overwhelm. We sink into it together, and I make a sound of pure pleasure. Lyrian pulls me against his chest, my back to his front, arms wrapped around my waist. We float like that, warm water and cool skin and complete quiet, except for the echo of falling water. I could stay here forever, I murmur. So could I. He presses a kiss to my shoulder. But eventually we'd starve. I laugh, tilting my head back against him. Practical. One of us has to be. We're quiet for a while, just existing together. Then, my court is asking questions, Lyrian says carefully, about why certain rituals feel unstable, why the old magic is restless. My stomach tightens. What are you telling them? That we're investigating, that it may be related to the external threats. He pauses. They're not satisfied. My pack is the same. They know something's different. They just don't know what. We can't hide this forever. I know. He turns me in his arms, so we're facing each other. Water laps around us, warm and constant. What do you want to do? I meet his eyes. What do you want? I want you. Simple, direct. I want this. I want to stop hiding and start building something real. But I won't ask you to sacrifice your pack for me. And I won't ask you to sacrifice your court. We're at an impasse, and we both know it. There has to be a way, I say. Some precedent, some treaty. I've been researching. He brushes wet hair back from my face. There are old stories, very old, about bonds between species, but they're not treaties or alliances. They're personal, individual, like what we have. Deeper, recognized by both sides, protected. A mate bond, I say slowly. He stills. Yes. His voice is careful. How did you... We have stories too. I meet his eyes. About wolves finding mates outside the pack. It's rare, but not forbidden, if both sides choose it freely. Hope flares in his eyes, careful and tentative. Would your pack recognize such a bond? Even with a vampire? I don't know, but they might. If it was real, if it was chosen. It is real, he says fiercely. This is the most real thing in my life. I kiss him, tasting hope and heat and possibility. Then we make them see it. Both our peoples. We don't hide, we don't apologize. We just show them what we've built. They'll resist. Let them. We're stronger together. He pulls me closer, kissing me like I'm air and he's been drowning. The water is warm around us, the cavern lit by crystal light, and I can feel something shifting. Not resistance this time, but recognition. Like the world is starting to understand what we already know. We're not a mistake. We're not a violation of natural law. We're exactly what we're supposed to be. We decide to tell them together. I call a pack gathering at the full moon. Lyrian requests court assembly on the same night. We'll speak to our peoples separately, but simultaneously. Show unified front even while apart. The night before, I'm pacing in Lyrian's study, nervous energy making me restless. They're going to be angry, I say. Confused at best. So will my court. He's calmer than I am, but I can see tension in the set of his shoulders. But we're not asking permission. We're informing them of a choice already made. You make it sound so simple. It is simple. We choose each other. Everything else is details. I stop pacing, look at him. He's in his formal clothes already. Dark coat, silver fasteners, hair pulled back severe and perfect. He looks like a king. Untouchable. Except I know better now. What if it doesn't work? I ask quietly. What if they reject this? Reject us? He crosses to me, takes my hands. His are cool and steady, grounding. Then we build something new. Together. But I don't think it will come to that. You're very confident. I have to be. One of us does. He squeezes my fingers. And I believe in what we've built. In who you are. Your pack will see it, Marin. They'll see you chose well. I lean into him, breathing in his scent. I did choose well. So did I. We stand like that until moonrise, drawing strength from proximity. Then it's time. The pack gathers in the clearing we've used for generations. Moon overhead, trees on all sides, ground worn smooth by countless ceremonies. They're in half form, most of them, easier to hold, more comfortable for long meetings. I stand before them fully human, vulnerable, honest. I've called you here to share something personal, I begin. My voice is steady, carrying to the edges of the clearing. Something that affects the pack, but began with me. They're listening, attention fixed. For the past months, I've been working with the vampire court, specifically with King Lyrian Thane, building cooperation against the external threats we've all faced. Murmurs ripple through the gathering, not hostile, but surprised. What started as strategic alliance became something more. We've formed a mate bond, one I'm declaring formally, before all of you, as recognized and chosen. The murmurs grow louder, confused, concerned. My second steps forward. A mate bond? With a vampire? Marin, that's unprecedented. I know. But not forbidden. I meet their eyes, one by one. Our laws speak of mates chosen freely. They don't specify species. And this choice was free, and mutual, and strong enough to change how the world feels around us. The disturbances, someone says. The rituals feeling wrong. That's because of this? Partially. The world doesn't know how to hold a wolf-vampire bond. It's resisting. But resistance isn't the same as rejection. We're teaching it new patterns. This is dangerous, my second insists. To the pack. To our stability. This is survival. I let power edge my voice. Alpha authority I rarely invoke. The threats we face aren't stopping. The old ways of separation aren't working. Lyrian and I have built something that makes both our peoples stronger. I'm asking you to recognize it. To let it be. Silence. Then the eldest of the pack steps forward, gray-muzzled, scarred, respected by everyone. Let me see him, she says. My heart lurches. What? Your mate. Let me see him. If this bond is real, I'll know it. I look toward the forest edge, toward shadow deep enough to hide a king, where I know Lyrian is waiting. He emerges slowly, hands visible, non-threatening, in formal clothes, every inch the vampire king. But he approaches with the careful respect of someone entering another's territory. He stops at the clearing edge, waits. The eldest approaches him, studies him with eyes that have seen centuries. Lyrian holds her gaze, steady, calm. Then she does something I don't expect. She shifts to full wolf. She scents him. Lyrian goes very still, letting her investigate. She circles him once, twice, nose working, testing. Then she shifts back to half form and turns to the pack. It's real, she says simply. The bond is genuine. Chosen. Strong. She looks at me. You chose well, Alpha. Relief nearly buckles my knees. The pack is still uncertain, I can feel it. But they're not rejecting us. And the eldest's approval carries weight. I ask your recognition, I say formally, of Lyrian Thane as my mate, of our bond as legitimate and protected. We recognize, the eldest says. Slowly, others echo her. Not all, some remain silent, but enough. Enough. Lyrian's eyes meet mine across the clearing. I see relief there too. And pride. The moon feels closer now. Warmer. Like the world is learning. The court's response is more complex. Lyrian tells me about it later, when we're alone in his study. My head is in his lap while he plays with my hair. They were concerned, he says carefully, about protocol, precedent, what it means for court stability. Did they reject it? No. But they're watching, waiting to see if the bond holds, if the disturbances ease. And are they? Easing? He's quiet for a moment, fingers stilling in my hair. Yes. Since the declarations, the rituals feel more settled. The old magic is finding new patterns. I tilt my head back to look at him. So the world is learning. Apparently. He smiles, soft and genuine. You were right. Recognition helped. We were right. We were right, he agrees. The next weeks are careful adjustment. I split time between pack and court, building bridges. Some of my wolves are curious about Lyrian's halls, about vampire culture. Some of his court are interested in wolf traditions, in how we hunt and gather and celebrate. We facilitate carefully, never forcing, always offering choice. And slowly, so slowly, people start to relax. I find Lyrian in the library one afternoon, deep in research. He doesn't hear me approach, focused completely on the text in front of him. I watch from the doorway, just appreciating the sight of him, the concentration on his face, the way afternoon light catches in his dark hair, the unconscious grace in how he turns pages. He looks up, catches me watching, smiles. How long have you been standing there? Long enough. I cross to him, lean down to kiss him. He tastes like tea and old paper. What are you reading? History of interspecies bonds. There's more precedent than I thought. Not common, but not unheard of. Mostly it works when both parties are willing to adapt. We're adapting. We are. He pulls me down into his lap. The book is forgotten. My court wants to formalize it. A ceremony. With both our peoples present. My heart jumps. Official recognition? Complete. Public. Binding. His eyes search mine. If you want it. Do you? I want you to be mine in every way that matters. I want the world to know it. So yes, I want it. I kiss him, deep and thorough. Then yes. Let's make it official. The ceremony is planned for the new moon, significant for both our peoples. Neutral ground, open sky, both pack and court in attendance. The week before, I barely sleep, not from anxiety, from anticipation, from the surreal reality that I'm about to bind myself formally to a vampire king, in front of everyone who matters. And it feels completely right. Lyrian is calmer, but I catch him staring at nothing sometimes, lost in thought. Nervous? I ask one night as we lie in bed. Excited, he corrects. This is what I want, Marin. You're what I want. I just want it to be perfect. It will be. Because we'll be together. He pulls me closer. We fall asleep wrapped around each other. The ceremony night is clear and cold. The clearing is lit by torches and moonlight. Pack on one side, court on the other. In the center, neutral space. We'll make our vows there. I'm in traditional wolf dress, leather and fur, hair loose and wild. Lyrian is in court formal, dark elegance, silver details, completely controlled. We walk toward each other from opposite sides. The space between us shrinks. Then we're standing face to face, hands clasped, the world watching. The eldest speaks for the pack. Lyrian's advisor speaks for the court. They invoke old words, older magic, calling on both moon and night to witness. Then it's our turn. I choose you, I say, across species, across history, across every reason we shouldn't work. I choose you freely, completely, and forever. I choose you, Lyrian responds, despite resistance, despite difficulty, despite the world learning new patterns. I choose you with everything I am, We speak the binding words together, old language that tastes like power and promise. The air around us shifts, settles, clicks into place. The bond that was already there becomes recognized, official, protected. Magic flares, brief and bright and absolute. Then it's done. Lyrian kisses me like we're the only people in the clearing. And maybe for that moment, we are. The celebration after is cautious at first. Pack and court don't know how to mingle. But we move between both groups, making introductions, facilitating conversation. And slowly, walls come down. A court member asks about wolf hunting techniques. A pack member inquires about vampire history. Someone shares food. Someone else shares stories. And before long, people are actually talking. Lyrian finds me near midnight, pulls me into a quiet corner. How are you? Happy. Overwhelmed. Complete. He smiles, touches his forehead to mine. Me too. All of it. We stand like that, breathing together, while around us our peoples begin to build something new. Life settles into new rhythm. I maintain quarters in both places now. My den with the pack. Western rooms in Lyrian's halls. I move between them easily, both feeling like home, because he's in one, and my people are in the other. The threats we've been fighting become easier to handle. Pack and court share intelligence freely, coordinate responses, back each other up. We're stronger together, exactly like we said. Lyrian and I build routines, morning coffee in his study, reviewing intelligence reports, afternoon training with the pack, where he occasionally joins to learn wolf combat techniques, evening meals in the small dining room, talking about everything and nothing, nights in his bed, or mine, or sometimes in the hot springs, just existing together. I never thought I'd have this, he tells me one night, fingers tracing patterns on my spine. Someone to share the weight with. Someone who understands both the power and the loneliness. You're not lonely anymore. Neither are you. It's true. The isolation I've carried for years, the burden of leadership, the inability to share everything with anyone, it's gone. I have a partner now, an equal. We're planning a joint council meeting, pack alphas and court leadership together, discussing long-term cooperation when the news comes. The external threats have withdrawn, not defeated, but retreated, like they've recognized our unified front and decided to look for easier targets. We did it, I say, staring at the intelligence report. The alliance worked. We worked, Lyrian corrects, pulling me into his arms. This was never just political strategy, Marin. This was us, choosing each other. And that choice making everything else possible. I lean into him, breathing in his scent. What now? Now we keep building. Keep growing. See what else becomes possible. The joint council meeting happens 2 weeks later. It's tense at first. Old suspicions, old fears. But we chair it together. Lyrian and I, unified authority, making it clear that cooperation isn't optional anymore. It's foundational. By the end, they're actually talking to each other, making plans, building alliances that extend beyond just military defense. Trade routes, someone suggests. Shared research, another offers. Cultural exchange programs. Ideas flow, building on each other. Lyrian's hand finds mine under the table. This is what we fought for. This possibility. That night, we celebrate privately. Lyrian brings me to a part of the mountain I haven't seen, higher up, where you can see for miles in every direction. There's a flat outcropping, perfect for standing together, watching stars. I had something made, he says, pulling a small box from his pocket. Inside are 2 rings. Simple, elegant, silver for him, something warmer for me, engraved with symbols from both our cultures, woven together. We already did the ceremony, I say, touched beyond words. I know. But I wanted something you could wear, something that marks you as mine, even when we're apart. I slip mine on. It fits perfectly, warm against my skin. He does the same with his, and we stand hand in hand, rings catching starlight. I love you, I say. I don't think I've said it clearly enough. But I do. Completely. I love you too. He turns to face me, both hands framing my face. You're the best thing that's happened in my very long life, Marin Ashwood. And I intend to spend the rest of it proving that to you. We kiss under the stars, surrounded by mountain wind and night air and the absolute certainty that we're exactly where we're supposed to be. Later, much later, we're tangled in his bed. Our bed now, really. When he asks, "Do you ever regret it? Choosing this path?" Never. Do you? Not for a single moment. He presses a kiss to my shoulder. You? I found home, Lyrian. How could I regret that? He makes a soft sound, pulling me closer. Stay with me. Always. Always, I promise. And I mean it. 6 months later, the changes are undeniable. There are pack members living part-time in court halls, learning vampire history and culture. There are court members joining hunts, running with wolves under full moons. Children from both species play together in the neutral zones we've established. It's not perfect. There are still tensions, old prejudices that flare sometimes, but they're manageable now, because we've proved it's possible. I'm in the study, reviewing trade agreements, when Lyrian comes in carrying tea and fresh bread from the kitchens. You need to eat, he says, setting both down within my reach. I'm almost done. Eat first. The trade agreements will wait. I smile, taking the bread. It's still warm, and it tastes perfect. He settles beside me, reading over my shoulder. We work in comfortable silence, the kind that comes from complete familiarity. The Eastern Pack wants to establish a permanent liaison position in court, I tell him. Someone to facilitate communication. Good. We should do the same with them. Maybe Cassian. He's been interested in pack culture. Perfect. I'll propose it at next council. This is my life now. Our life. Building bridges, facilitating cooperation, growing something that didn't exist before we chose each other. That night, we host a dinner. A mixed group, wolves and vampires, young and old, gathered in the great hall that used to only see court functions. There's laughter, good food, genuine conversation. I catch Lyrian's eye across the table. He smiles, warm and private, just for me. Later, when everyone has left and we're alone in our quarters, I tell him, I'm happy. Really, deeply happy. So am I. He pulls me into his arms, swaying slightly like we're dancing to music only we can hear. You gave me this. This life. This possibility. We gave each other this. Yes, he agrees softly. We did. We stand like that, holding each other. While outside the mountain, the world continues to learn new patterns. Patterns of cooperation, of trust, of love that crosses boundaries people said were absolute. We proved them wrong. And we'll keep proving them wrong, every day, just by choosing each other. by building home in the space between moonlight and shadow, by being exactly what we are, wolf and vampire, alpha and king, mates who found each other across every reason we shouldn't have. The world resisted at first, but now it's learning. And so are we. Learning that love doesn't ask permission, not from systems, not from traditions, not from old fears. It just exists, inevitable as gravity, certain as stars, and ours, always ours. Stay with me, I whisper against his chest. Always, he promises. Forever. And I believe him. Because this is home. This is refuge. This is everything we built together, in stone halls and moonlight, through resistance and recognition, until the world learned to hold space for something it never imagined. Us. Complete. Perfect. Home.